I know you also wrote an article just about the most intriguing guys heading into the combine. And you had Hunter, Abdul Carter, Mason Graham, Travion Henderson. Um, the concern I have with Hunter, he's a really good cornerback, he's a really good wide receiver. You have to have a plan for how you're going to use him because it's almost like a guy that has positional, well, he has the ultimate positional flexibility, and you can overwhelm a guy if you try to ask him to do too much too soon.
Yeah, I think that's what's so interesting about him as a prospect, because if you're an NFL team, you don't want him to become this sort of jack of all trades, master of none, and have it work to his disadvantage. So I think what's so interesting is obviously no one is claiming to know where exactly he would play. And he's working out and he's scheduled to talk with the defensive backs at the NFL Combine next week. But even that doesn't mean anything. Really, he played a handful more defensive snaps. So it sounds like that's why they put him there. And also, if he's there with them earlier than the other skill position offensive players are going to be, then he can still, in theory, work out in some of those offensive drills over the weekend. So I'm really curious to see if we get him doing any of that as well. But I think when you get him into whatever team's locker room he ends up on, I think the way you figure it out, obviously, where you're going to want to put him, but you can still use him, I think, on both sides of the ball, even if you have some nickel or dime packages that you want to put him in as a DB if you would rather use him as a receiver. But I even think the easier option would be trade him as a DB and maybe have some gadget plays to throw him in as a receiver if you want. I think it kind of depends on the team he goes to, what their needs are, what they see in him. And we'll get that more clear picture, I think, once he's actually drafted. I think at this point, that's really the only way to do it because he hasn't flat out come out and said, oh, I'm only pursuing being a receiver at the next level, or I'm only pursuing being a corner at the next level.
Let's skip ahead to Henderson before we go to break. I'm intrigued. I think he could end up,
Yeah.
I think he was really good at Ohio State. I think he could end up being one of those guys that's a pretty good college player who's an even better pro.
I think so too. He has become one of my quote unquote draft crushes. I mean, I think he's going to be available on day two, and it's a position group that you can find a lot of value in. And this is a really deep running back class. It's the deepest one since in my memory of covering the NFL. And this is my fourth or fifth combine here. So I'm really intrigued by him and why I singled him out in specifically. Everyone pretty much has him rated below Judkins, so let's assume his Ohio State teammate is going first. If Henderson is available, he can pass protect, which we know the Browns love. I think any NFL team would really value that. He can catch passes. He is reliable. He hasn't fumbled the ball in 3 years. That's the stat that truly blew me away, I thought. And he's produced on the ground, obviously. He might not be the most creative runner from what I'm seeing and reading, but he gets the job done. And I think an NFL team, whatever team takes him, they're going to have a lot there to work with. And a guy who seems really coachable, ready to learn, and already has a pretty good, diverse skill set from playing in that Ohio State offense and obviously coming off of a national title win now.